This project has to do with taking this picture, this image of the skull with the horns laying on the ground, and taking out the background. The grass and the shadow behind the skull is something we don't want. We want just the skull itself. So this photo has been processed in Photoshop and saved as a Photoshop document, and then we have gone into Illustrator and opened Illustrator and open to this Photoshop document, and it comes in as a Photoshop document in Illustrator. Now, getting rid of the grass and that behind the skull, so we only have the skull itself, is the process here. And to do that, we need to make an outline that covers exactly the shape of the skull and the horns. To do that, we're going to take the pen tool and with a not a black line per se, I'm going to take like an orange line so that I can see the difference between the green and the tan and the brown of this shape. Now I need to get very close to it, so I'm going to take my zoom tool and come into this area right here, very very close, very tight pattern, so that I'm seeing here. Now if I hold my finger down on the space bar, you can see I can move this shape around because the shape is now bigger than my screen. But I need to see the edge here so that I can go around the edge of the horn and the skull. When we get into the shadow area, you have to somewhat interpret a little bit to get around that. But you're going to start at some point. I'm going to start right here where the horn meets this white bone and virtually go all the way around the skull until you come back and close your shape on where you started. Now to do that, you take your pen tool, and this is going to be a series of curved lines, nearly curved lines, to make little ups lines or little down lines as you go along through it. Now I'm going to start around. I'm not going to take the time to go all the way around, but I'm going to show you the process, and then you can in your project make it go all the way around, and then I'll show you the end result as we get to it. But here is the start. Click and release. Now this is a fairly straight line here, so click and a slight curve to it. Then click on the last anchor point, and you're going to come down this little slope there. Click and it's a curved line. Now click and release, come off here. Here's a little downturn line. So you're going to click and it turns down, and then it turns up a bit here. And you're just doing a series of these downturns and upturns, however the skull edge takes you to get around the outside of this skull. The lines are going to be approximately as close as you make them. If you aren't quite on, don't worry about it because it is going to be reduced. Here's where little bumps comes up over the top of the horn, and then off it goes again with just some curved lines. Now remember, if for some reason if you should miss, here I'm clicking back into the anchor point, if I should miss and I get a little twisted bump there, Command Z will take you back to where you need to be and take you back one step and then get back into it. So the process then is to go around the horns, and always clicking back in the last anchor point to reconnect. And sometimes you have a short line that bumps up, and then here it kind of bumps down a little bit, and here it takes a nice long curve that you can. Don't worry, don't try to interject the shadow into this, because we are cutting out all the shadow and the grass that might be there. But we continue on around to follow the curve. And again, put your finger on the space bar and move this picture so that you're looking very close at it, but yet you are getting the perspective of the close picture as you go along. Now I've turned the corner here, and I'm back into some area where the shadow and the grass just kind of bypass the grass, and away we go. So that continues then. In some cases you get a long turn, in some cases not so long, but you continue your way around. And finger on the space bar, and then let go, and then reconnect and click around. When you get to some of the more detailed parts, just slow down and make those bumps rise or fall with the shape that you see. And I'm getting into the horn here now where it bumps up a little bit, that comes into the skull. There's some short lines here. It turns around, and no one's going to look at the anatomy lesson you're doing here and say, well, it isn't quite right. Be as careful as you can and follow the lines as they go around, and watch that they bend out or bend in, and just follow that nomenclature, and then you'll make it all the way around to the end of the thing. Now I'm going to stop at this point, and you can see I've got to go down here around the base, up here into this nasal quality. Don't worry about these inside lines. As a matter of fact, those, once you get this in place, you'll come back and put little colored, whatever color the background is, you'll put those in Illustrator, just again drawing the lines around them, because we can't cut a hole in this. You only have one line to deal with, so that these are going to be little patches we'll make later on. But you'll come back up this side and around the eye socket up to the horn, and then down the horn, and then when you finish, you'll come back here, and your last stroke will be into that first anchor point. You'll get the little zero upside the pen point, and then you'll be through. Now I'm going to back off a ways so that we can see the entire picture again. And here's the line I've made up to date. I'm going to move that off to the side and pull in a line that is actually finished. This is what it looks like when you get it finished. It's the complete outline of this skull, minus the little nasal qualities in here. Now I'm going to put that on top of that skull as if I had just drawn it. The process I went through, just trying to save a little time. Now, when you can see the line you made above the picture, that means that it's on a layer closer to you, and the line has to be on a higher level than the picture or image that's behind it. Now here's the trick of all this. You get your line in place here, and then you take your black arrow and you draw a marquee, and you're obviously picking up the picture in total. See, the picture, if I click on it, there's the total picture. It's just one object. But if I get the picture and that line I've just made with my curved drawing, and I see that it's lit up as well. Now, it's a very simple thing with your thumb on the command key, and then hit the 7 key, and that wipes out the background. Now think of this as having a piece of paper that I've cut out that shape of the skull and horns. Exactly that shape. They put that piece of paper over the top of the original photograph, and all I see is the skull. Now the dirt and the grass and the shadow is still there, it's just that you can't see it. Now with this done, I'm going to select all that again and hit Command G to group this together so that my paper doesn't slide off the skull and give me a bad image. So now when I get this, I have the skull, do anything I want with it, and to that point I go to another page where I have the skull is in place. Well, let's see, I thought I had that in place. Well, this skull, then, you can use it for example, if I wanted to put a background, my own colored background, I'm going to put just a rectangle right there. Now I'll give it a color. Let's take this light tan, and it came in as a stroke. I'll change it to a fill. Now it's in front, so Command Shift left bracket, and now you can see it's behind it. So you can begin to add any number of other shapes or lettering or stuff that you think is important in this artwork that you're making to let's see, let's put maybe an orange there. Now that's in front of it, so I can get a hold of the orange, and with the Shift key get that brown piece behind it and put both those in the back. Command Shift left bracket, and so the brown is behind, then the orange, then the image of the skull. So with lettering, with other montage items, maybe I put a horseshoe, maybe I put a spurs, maybe I put something else from these Photoshop documents. I cut out the background, I put them in place. I can make a montage, one in front of the other or around. But this is the drill of using the cutout line all the way around the nose to finish off and get this skull only in this Adobe Illustrator image.